tricks with your favorite instructor, Instructor Shelton. Today, I have Mr. Athenkosi Nzala. Hopefully, I said that name right. I would love to introduce you. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for coming on the show. And I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about yourself before you give us your tip or trick.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Athenkosi Nzala. Thank you once again, Danielle, for having me on this session. So basically, with me, I am from South Africa. I have a background in civil engineering at the University of Cape Town, and currently finishing off my final year in educational technology, online learning. And I've been quite involved within the space of online learning as an instructional designer, working for Pearson, as well as just having to facilitate students in schools, as well as facilitate online. And I'm still going to be quite involved within the context of online education, or rather educational technology. And so I'm here as I got the post because I think I invited you on LinkedIn because
Yes.
of my company, Limitless Online Learning. So we design online learning for companies. And so this is like my passion. I love doing this. And
Oh,
so without wasting any time, so not so long ago, I learned about the online game Kahoot. I don't know if you know it, Danielle.
yes, I do. I
Um,
play it with my students.
yep, yes. So Kahoot is a really fun and engaging platform for people to actually remember information, but to be able to engage as well as to be more interactive, but also just to have fun. Because for me, I'm young. I don't know if older people have this, but with the energy that I have, I would like to really ensure that the students have fun. And so I want to explain this very well. So
Okay.
I've dealt with students that come from, so in South Africa we have high schools, right?
Hmm.
And so that's like primary to high school. For you guys, I think you're more familiar with K to 12.
Yes. Yes. K
Yes,
through 12.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. So I've been interacting with mostly grades 8 to 12, and that will be more on facilitation. And so I've had to interact with them in terms of organizing games, or rather learning online, as well as face to face. And then sometimes it's blended. And because of Corona, most of the time it has had to be more virtually. And then what happens is that I've also had to design learning content for older people when you have to facilitate, as well as people in my age. So you can then think about how it will give me the experience in terms of leveraging my skill set between both the young and the old. And so the trick with Kahoot is that it balances it for the old. So the old, I think, when I use Kahoot in terms of a quiz, it's not only just to get them to have fun. So it's 30% of fun for them, and
Hmm.
more 70% of interactiveness, as well as engagement and motivation as well. Because when they have to play Kahoot, they have to be adults who actually have to get ready to design their own Kahoot session. They have to
Oh,
make sure
nice.
yeah, they have to make sure that they look at previous content and actually take that content and make it in the form of a quiz in any way, because Kahoot has different formats. So they can use that content that we've done in class and organize for others to learn. So I create I think you'll be familiar with the word co-creation. So I always want to allow a space where there's co-creation. The students get to see themselves as instructors, and I remove myself from the room so that they can be able to carry that learning and co-create in the space, because that's when they own the information.
Yes.
So mostly the Kahoot one, where they have to create their own Kahoots, and I don't do that because I just have to show them and teach them. They have to carry on that for themselves as some form of educational legacy, right? And so that's for the older guys. That is also something that I would use for the younger ones, because it actually goes through the age spectrum very
Yes.
nicely. But then specifically with the younger group, this is what I would do, because with this one, I can have much more fun and much more intimacy in terms of a challenge within the younger group, because they tend to be quite competitive.
Yes.
And so what I will do is, in the form of a quiz as well, I allow them to quiz themselves. So what will happen is that if you, let's say right now, Danielle, we're having a session and you are the instructor and I'm one of the students, and there are like about 5 students. On a particular day, Monday to Friday, on a Monday, Athenkosi has to organize a quiz based on information that we learned last week, right? And so with that, the responsibility that you give me in order to make it motivating, engaging, interactive, and fun, what you do, what you ask of me is that I need to make sure that I ask at least 5 questions based on that information we've done on those different topics or within those units that we were learning. And then I need to ask 5 different students in that session. What it does is that every student, they don't know whether they're going to be asked or not by Athenkosi. But what they have to make sure is that they have to look at their books. They have to be ready. Because if I say, Danielle, it's now time, I have a question for you. This question is for you. And I read the question and I need you to remember. Firstly, the student already engages themselves. They don't want to be embarrassed in front of the class, right?
Right.
And you also, as an instructor, won't make it embarrassing. So you'll make it fun, right? From the very word, from the very goal at the beginning, you'll let them know that this is not to embarrass anyone, but this is for us to learn together and co-create information, as well as engage and be motivated whilst we are learning. And so that's one of the most important tricks that I do, making sure that learners get to prepare their own quiz and they ask the other students. So you can say that it's more of a Kahoot, but this one I use particularly as a form of a more verbal interaction that allows students to be motivated and that allows students to engage. And yeah, that is.
You gave me an idea for midterm exams for my students. I've been like, what can I do that's interactive, that's fun? See, this is why I do this, because thank you.
Yeah. So that is it. And then of course we have like, I mean, there are some really good or some tricks that we've seen, and the classic one for me is the one of rewards. Danielle, there's nothing as beautiful as rewarding students. So for instance, when the student has been able to ask those 5 questions, you're able to reward them with something that will motivate them. Do you know what you did at the beginning of the module or in the beginning of that semester? What you did is that you collected information, like a biography of the students, that allows you to say, okay, what are the things that they like? So every time they do something and you reward them, you go back to the notes that you have on their profile and you actually reward them with things that they really do like, right?
Wow.
Because you allow them to provide you with the list of all those things, because they're like children, they're younger, so you can do that with them. And so you reward them. The person that also gets to be called to answer a question by the person who will be presenting the quiz, you also reward them as well. So it's like an ecosystem of rewards that allows motivation, that allows students to feel that they are appreciated, right, in that actual environment. And it makes it much more easier on a virtual environment, because that's what would normally take place in a face-to-face or traditional classroom.
Wow, that is such an awesome way to engage students. And it shows that you checked in with them. For you to have like a list and for you to know what they like and for you to know exactly how to reward them, because the truth really is, if the reward, like if it's not something that they like, then it's not really a reward. So for you to check in with them enough to know, okay, this is something that would mean something to them, that's a whole other level of engagement altogether. That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Athenkosi. Hopefully I said that right. All right. And thank you so much for coming on Tips and Tricks. I really enjoyed all of your tips and tricks. I will absolutely be using that tip. I will be using that one this week. So, and I will let you know how it goes. Thank you so much. And this is another episode of Tips and Tricks with Instructor Shelton and Mr. Athenkosi. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Wonderful.